Yo, legends, this is Hellmouth Hotline. I'm your host, Rodney Stewart, and we're doing The Devil Rides Out, another Hammer classic. And this little movie is so much better than I was expecting it to be. So, definitely, if you haven't delved into the Hammer movies up to this point, I'd be I'll be fairly surprised if anybody's listening to like a horror-based podcast and hasn't seen a lot of the Hammer stuff. But if you haven't, this is definitely one of these movies that would be a good intro to the Hammer movies. Like a lot of them up to this point in this box set, I'm kind of just reviewing them as they come out of the box set, just in the way the box set has them listed. And a lot of them are fairly slow burns. You could say it about the vast majority of them compared to like the breakneck pace we're used to these days. But just because it's a slow movie doesn't mean it's a bad movie. A lot of the classics are slow burns, and the Hammer movies are no different. But this one here is absolutely fantastic, and let's get into the review. We're into the Hammer horror box set once again, and this movie is The Devil Rides Out from 1968, and it stars Christopher Lee as the good guy for a change. Basically, in this film, him and one of his friends is meeting up for a reunion with another guy who hasn't been seen in a few months. So they travel to his mansion and they discover a big party going on, and he's saying that he's been initiated into an astrological circle, more or less, but it turns out that it's actually a devil worshipping cult, and him and another young woman are going to be initiated into it that night. So Christopher Lee takes on the role of protecting this guy. He promised that when his father died he would take care of his son, so he's like a protege to Christopher Lee's character in this film. So yes, this is just your basic good versus evil story, which is so much better than I was expecting it to be. This is actually, out of all the films in the Hammer collection box set to this point, this is probably one of the better ones that I've watched so far. Very, very good. The effects for its time are quite dated now, but still freaky nonetheless, and it's down to the brilliant acting of everyone involved in this film. Absolutely fantastic, so good. Even down to the way that they fight the devil worshippers, and at a couple of different points in the film, Christopher Lee is actually using a crucifix like a hand grenade and he actually drives back the devil himself at one point in this film, where he chucks a crucifix at him and explodes. Absolutely fantastic. The cast is amazing. Now let me just look up this guy's name. Charles Gray. Sorry, completely left my head there. Is Makata in this film, who is the head of this satanic cult, and he definitely presents a real evil presence in this film. Again, the acting is so good out of everyone involved. It makes a nice change seeing Christopher Lee in the lead as a good guy for a change, instead of usually turning up as Dracula or Rasputin was the other character he's played so far in this movie collection. Always the bad guy, but this stage, but this one here, he was actually the lead good guy. So brilliant, absolutely fantastic film. I couldn't recommend it higher. definitely go and check this one out. Again, through all the films in this box set, this one has been maybe not the most enjoyable, but definitely the most, yeah, the quickest paced. Let's put it that way. Like, I've said in the past that a lot of these old movies in this box set are slow burners, slow to get going, but once they get going, they're absolutely fantastic. But this one here kind of keeps an even amount of pressure on from beginning to end. So good, and a lot of familiar faces popping up in here. If you are a geek culture nut job like me, there is a small child in this film whose face looked pretty familiar to me, and she was actually in an old episode of Star Trek The Next Generation, which would have taken place about, what, 25 years after this film was made. So she's only like 11 in this movie, so she was fully grown in Star Trek Next Generation. She's only in it for one episode, but just a familiar looking face. When I seen her on screen, I just had to look it up on IMDb who she was and what other things she was in, and that's where I knew her from. But I digress. Yes, the film itself is absolutely brilliant, fantastic. Definitely not a waste of your time. If you're into the Hammer movies at all, you'll probably know this one. And if not, if you're a casual little horror fan that's just starting to get into the whole horror movie thing, and you want an easy entry into the horror movies, is definitely the Hammer Horrors as a place to begin, because they're not, by today's standards, they're not overly graphic. Will not give you any nightmares if you're used to the likes of Walking Dead and Buffy the Vampire Slayer, all that sort of stuff on TV. All that there is has more graphic content than any of these films have had to this point. But this film is genuinely freaky. Again, the effects do look dated, but because of the acting of everyone involved, it really pushes the belief in this movie and just suspends all disbelief, and you're in it from beginning to end. Definitely go and check it out. This has been a production of Coins Edge Media. Check out my social media links in the show notes. Thank you so much for listening.